Thank you, Chairman Velasquez and Ranking Member Lukemeyer, for holding this important hearing today. As a former mayor and businesswoman, I've spent my career with people from a wide array of backgrounds and experience who have fought tooth and nail to grow their businesses only to see their doors closed, forced by the heavy hand of government due to the coronavirus pandemic. Since being sworn into office 1 month ago, I've been fortunate enough to speak with a number of small businesses and franchise owners in North Texas to learn more about their experiences in the face of the global health crisis and their struggles due to the government restrictions that followed. Just last week, I held a roundtable discussion to hear from these businesses in our community. Many expressed similar concerns, but one thing they all had in common, similar to what Mr. Shopes has referenced in his testimony today, is that they're doing all that they can, everything in their power, to ensure their businesses weather this storm. While loan programs like the Paycheck Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Loans Program were critical in keeping their businesses operational, the pandemic has brought forth new challenges, and over time it became clear that these programs needed additional resources and support to uplift small businesses and entrepreneurs. In North Texas, our economy is made better by the innovation and entrepreneurial spirit small business owners provide. In talking to the business owners in my community, I learned that they're hurting and needing help. They're scared that the powerful few in Washington will make politically expedient decisions that may force them to permanently close their doors. Instead of calls to hike the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour, which will kill many small businesses, we should be discussing how to improve programs like the Paycheck Protection Program that could keep them open past the pandemic. Unfortunately, this administration stands ready to hand down destructive policies that will force North Texans out of business and demand many change the standards of who they hire. I hope the calls for unity thus far are not shallow. Small businesses need us to come together as a Congress, as a House, and as a committee to fix the programs keeping them alive, address their unique situations, and reopen the stores, the restaurants and service centers that keep our communities running. I look forward to working with this committee to oversee the programs that have aided so many small businesses thus far, and as we move past this pandemic, advancing legislation that will allow America's entrepreneurs to prosper once again. I thank all of the witnesses being here today. And for Ms. Kerrigan, an October report from the Government Accountability Office concluded that the streamlined process that the SBA implemented to administer COVID-19 loans has increased susceptibility to fraud and abuse. Are there any activities or program features that you believe we should be examining more closely in our congressional oversight of these programs?
Yes, and that is a big issue and obviously of concern. I actually read the recent SBA's IG report that was released on this very issue, and they have some very good recommendations in that report in terms of what can be done on the front end to ensure that there is not, in terms of the money does not get dispersed to people who maybe or businesses that may be ineligible, and things that they can work on with Treasury, for example, the do not pay data source that they have over there, again, to sort of, catch this fraudulent activity before the money goes out the door. So I was happy to see that SBA IG report, the recommendations, and also the SBA following through on some of those recommendations, but more oversight and follow-up definitely needs to be done.
All right, I appreciate that. One of the biggest concerns for small business owners that the pandemic has exacerbated has been providing health care to some of our frontline workers. Our smallest businesses employ low-wage workers and can't afford to pay for health care, especially with revenues dropping. But due to the pandemic, workers are scared to go to work without that safety net. So, Ms. Kerrigan, I'm going to ask, how would you like to see the issue of small business health care addressed for our smallest of small businesses?
Well, to the extent that you can provide the incentives and support to the workers themselves in order to access health coverage, to allow for more, flexibility, one size doesn't fit all, certainly when it comes to health care. And I do think some of the initiatives of the last administration, have been helpful. I do believe, the pooling initiative, for allowing small businesses to leverage their numbers in terms of accessing healthcare was very important. Well, one other critical thing that I see is that we want to be able to incentivize when it comes back to vaccines. Employers, are looking not to mandate, but to incentivize employers to get the vaccine. And we joined a group of our allies in sending a letter to the EEOC to make sure that proper guidance is put out there, so that we're not running foul of any laws. And so those
the gentlewoman's time has expired.